Welcome, everybody, to a discussion on what does it take to be a GOAT. We have recently just finished watching The Last Dance episodes 3 and 4. So alongside me, Paul Guarino, Jason Torey. Fellas, first impressions after watching The Last Dance episodes 3 and 4.
I'll go. All right. Once again, I think me and Jason discussed last week, kind of just got me motivated to do stuff. And just Michael Jordan, obviously, is just the GOAT, as we were just talking about. And the Rodman episode, crazy. Obviously, everyone knows he's wild. Just funny parts of just we were just talking about how he was nah, I need a 2-day vacation. Or Phil gave him the 2-day vacation. He was all right, say less, basically. went on his rant.
But he went out for longer than that.
Yeah, well, yeah. And then they had to get him out of bed. Crazy.
Jason, what are your thoughts early on?
I mean, it's all about team chemistry. They brought in the certain piece of the puzzle to see something they could win. I mean, one thing I noticed is every single player on the starting court is shortest is Jordan's 6'7". I think that one main thing, how Jordan is the greatest. Two main things is what he's accomplished in the shortest amount of period of time, which we're all trying to do. You can't take away time. And he never missed a game unless he was physically taken out of the game or by requirements that were just, I think, almost people bringing him down or people getting jealous of the great one. You kind of look at a Wayne Gretzky or a Tom Brady. They don't miss games. They're so competitive, and they just know what the will is to win. Some quotes that I think I would touch on are that he always said, well, tell that guy I got something for him. And it's just a great, strong mindset. He just never stops. I mean, when he thinks he's losing Magic Johnson one time and, he was about to lose and he would play for another hour. It's just not only win, but shove it in your face to really win and dominate. I think there was one time where he was playing there in the Olympics and they were doing a pickup game in practice. And he said, give me the ball eventually. I'm going to take care of this. Also, when I think it was the Portland series, he said, it's the Trailblazers. And there was a great player that was the targeted person. He goes, we'll take care of this. I have something for him. And he drained 5 threes in a row in a halftime and set the record in that sense. I mean, tell me someone else who's done that. LeBron's done really well, but the one main point people have brought up to argue, he's only went 3 for 5 in national championships.
Yeah. Jordan's record in finals was really interesting. It's also interesting in these episodes getting to see Jordan having the reputation of being a great scorer at first, but not really winning a championship. It's something I think if you're in our age range or younger, you don't necessarily remember just because they only talk about all the championships he won. But I remember when obviously LeBron hadn't won his first, it was just okay, LeBron is a great, but he doesn't win championships. So it's interesting to see Jordan get that criticism as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Aaron, what was your take on the Rodman episode?
I thought his story is crazy. I mean, I've known that he's just I don't want to call him a nut job, but he's just a different character. It was interesting to learn that he got kicked out of his house at age 18. I feel that definitely had a huge part on him being the person that he became. Mm-hmm. And also it was kind of wild that Madonna was the person who basically influenced him to be whoever he wanted to be. And he was it was just a really freeing feeling. What was that?
One thing Rodman had that one big attribute Rodman had aside from his physical skills, he actually had a huge heart. I mean, he was determined not to let Jordan down no matter what. Yeah. And at one point, he was the second-hand guy after Pippen wasn't playing, and he had that heart. And even though when he screwed up, Jordan could tell why. He said he realized he would never do it again. So, I mean, that's kind of, I think heart is what it takes to win. I mean, it's a kind of a cool example, but I know in the movie The Replacements, they're at halftime, they're losing, and they go up to the coach and they said, what's it going to take to win this? And they go, heart. I mean, it's one word, but it explains 100 emotions and and words at the same time and gets right to the point.
Yeah. Like, it
Yeah,
was – what was that, Paul?
I was gonna say it's also just like crazy. Him, Pippen, and Jordan. They're just like so different people.
Yeah.
But they all work together like that.
It's kind of like a Bermuda Triangle, and how are you going to break the ice? How are you going to defeat this? I mean, it's a unique skills that put it all together, and I think Jordan overall was the cap. He was so good that not only was he good physically, but he could read the court before it was going to happen. And then, like, for example, one cool thing was how the team bonding in the Olympics in '92 when basically Pippen and Jordan told the coach, "Watch this, we got coup, coach. We'll show him what's up." And basically it hit him with a left hook and it's shock. So, it's crazy the psychology behind the strategic planning behind this to create the victory. And think they're a lot more strategic than other teams, not only with the raw talent and physical talent, but the intelligence behind the mindset of how the strategic plan to execute victory.
Yeah. I definitely think it was like, you see how 3 different characters can come together to like create NBA history. Just like you said, I mean, they really are so different. Like Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen's childhoods couldn't have been further apart, and even Jordan to an extent too. I also liked hearing about like the like Doug Collins, like how he first started with them, and like how the players were like, oh, he would just be drenched in sweat, like after the games, like he was just so excited and stuff like that. Like that's the kind of stuff that I don't know. You miss a lot with a lot of coaches.
I think one positive vibe off of all this is the freaking amazing energy, the straight energy that this team evolved in, and the chemistry brewing around it. And even like a guy like Rodman, where he was like, I could have been dead, I could have been a bum, or I could have been shot, and he rose above the occasion, and he's kind of really relaxed, but he's right to the point. And when he sees a window of success, he executed it the way he thought he could best way he possibly could do it.
Yeah. The 48-hour like vacation that he was given is crazy. I mean, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about that. And I mean, I think it possibly still could happen in today's NBA. I just think that they would disguise it as like this player is either load management or something like that. Like, but they have different ways of going about it now, but it really is just like, it is mentally draining to have to compete at that level every night.
Well, also, it's just like, what is it going to take us? Do whatever you have to do to be successful. If this is the right decision, do it. If this is going to create a disaster and a risk, why would you even think about doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing we got to think about too is that this was going back on their third three-peat. So like they had to have a certain level of trust with the coach and Dennis Rodman too, just because they already won back-to-back. So he must have been like, just do it. Like,
but at the same time, you heard Jordan being like, yeah, I didn't think it was a good idea at the time. Like, I thought he wasn't going to come back, and he didn't come back. They had to go get him.
Yeah, which is hilarious. I think he was married to Carmen Electra at the time, or they were going out, and then he got married. I'm not sure. But the other dope thing I thought was I remember seeing him with the cheetah hair, but I didn't realize it was 33. That was dope. I didn't know that.
Yeah, me either. That was pretty cool how they tied that in there. It is also crazy when you see like how physical the NBA was back then with like the Detroit Pistons and stuff like that. Like
Well, it's also, they talked about how Rodman changed the game. It wasn't that, and they also made it when they were the Pistons. They basically said, we didn't get invited to the Bulls and Lakers parties after the season. We were the rough crowd, basically.
Yeah, that was cool to see that. Like, I definitely like have a. ESPN has a 30 for 30 on that Detroit like era of the Bad Boys. I definitely would recommend you guys watch that if you haven't. But it was also crazy in episode 3, like seeing Jordan's iconic shot against Cleveland. Like, the one where you always see the pictures of him like jumping and like fist pumping. Yeah. It's crazy that shot.
I mean, to this day, we still remember that image, which is something sensational. How many plays have gone on in the NBA and he hit that shot? I think I remember Larry Johnson hit one and he got a plus one after a 3. and went on to win the game in NBA Finals. But I mean, that's one image of growing up that I still remember. Jordan's is that one in the last final shot versus the Utah Jazz. I mean, I remember the day I watched it as a kid on the screen in my house in Connecticut. It's unbelievable that eyeballs today still remember that image. And in the history of sports, I mean, and I don't know, I was 13 or something at the time. I mean, Jordan was our life. I mean, there were girls wearing Jordan basketball jerseys and shoes and think they're tomboys. I mean, what is this world coming to? This hasn't happened ever since. He still made an impact in the world.
Yeah.
And I also think one great thing about this is it's going to turn around, especially this time. Everyone's going through a rough time. Well, guess what? These guys dig deep. I mean, they came from who knows where. I mean, really, they're interesting backgrounds. And, they dug deep and create a victory. And it's going to create a mindset. It comes down to the mindset to begin with. So I think that could really be an impact in the world today, and see where this world's going to go forward with the tough time we're dealing with now.
Yeah, and I think it just brings it back to, like, they didn't have any technologies. They were writing letters still. Like I mean, we know that sort of. Like, we weren't writing letters, but we know a little bit about the older school stuff. But, like, the kids that are maybe, like, I don't know, maybe in, like, high school now are probably like, what? Like, that's crazy. Like, you had to write a letter and all that.
Yeah.
And then the other cool thing I think that hopefully these kids resonate with is that Dennis Rodman got boards, and he's in the Hall of Fame for getting rebounds, not for getting points. You don't have to be the point scorer. You could begin if you get 10, 15 rebounds a game, you could make it.
Yeah, two things actually about what you just said. One with the letters. I saw I forget, he was a journalist somewhere, but he had a tweet about tweeted about how his son was like, why did he need stamps? It just goes to show you, like, they just have no idea. And like, he was like, I think he was talking about how his son was like 16 in the tweet, like, and he's just like, but like, it's crazy that a 16-year-old just would have no idea really. But also back to like the Rodman thing, it was interesting to see how they were talking about Rodman being so dedicated to like his craft, like how he would study opponents, how he would learn like the spin of how each shooter would shoot. So he was like, all right, I knew if Jordan shot.
The Bulls also relied on that like no other. They're like, we need this piece of the puzzle. Otherwise, we're flailing. I mean, he is God when it comes to rebounds and defense and spreading his arms, falling into the crowds, flying out of bounds, getting the ball, going behind the back. I mean, he created a new style and branding of basketball as well, aside from jumping from the free throw line to dunk a ball. And not only, he probably could, he just said, that's Jordan's job. I'll get it to him.
It shows like the importance of like having a guy who is, first of all, willing to do the dirty work, and also the importance of like having somebody who just buys into their role. Cause like not everyone can be Jordan. Not everyone can be Pippen. So if you want to be on a team that wins, you're going to have to find your role and like be damn good at it.
Yeah. Can you guys think of anybody that's like Rodman today? Cause I can't.
Yeah, not really. I mean, the entire package of Dennis Rodman, definitely not.
Well, not that. I mean, like,
do they even allow that image anymore?
Probably not, to be honest.
I mean, I think we should bring it back. I mean, Instagram's out there. That came out a couple of years ago. Why not get the trend going?
Yeah, I mean, he's such an.
We get a lot of media views. Do something different.
For sure, they couldn't get enough of him back in the day, like when he showed up in a wedding dress and stuff like that. Like, it's just.
I'm not hating.
Yeah, he did what he wanted, and
be who you want to be.
Exactly, and he was.
Yeah, and then episode 4, they go into more of Phil Jackson and like almost how he was Dennis Rodman like in his day, which was kind of funny. Like I didn't really know that, and just like seeing that like Phil Jackson also won 2 championships as a player, which I think is impressive that nobody really knows either.
Yeah.
Maybe he wasn't a huge role, but I think he was more of a bench player. But still, he has 2 championships as a player and 11 as a coach, which is.
I think that's why, because he has 11 as a coach, that people forget about the fact that, he was a decent NBA player himself. Yeah. It was cool to see like Dennis and Phil's just like love and appreciation of Native American culture, and like how that kind of bonded them and stuff like that. But Phil's come up as a coach and stuff was interesting, and also just Jordan not liking Phil at all or liking the triangle offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mean, and if you think about the Phil thing, like I was thinking about like 3 marquee franchises. He was with the Bulls, and he won with the Knicks as a player, and he
Yeah.
won with the Bulls as a coach and the Lakers. Like that's pretty crazy.
Well, he kind of made the Bulls a marquee
Yeah, no,
franchise
that's what I
too.
was gonna say too.
They
Yeah,
were
he
they
made
hadn't
them.
won one before him.
Yeah, he made them.
I was cracking up in episode 4 when Jordan was like, Phil was telling him, "There's no I in team," and he was like, "Yeah, but there is in win." And I
Yeah.
was just like, it's such a Jordan quote.
Such a mindset right there. That's his
I
mindset.
mean, I think Jordan really shows that he's his own man, but he knows it happened.
Yeah, and like his mindset is just elite. Like the closest we saw to that, like where we were of age to really understand it was Kobe, and like
Mhm.
even then, like Kobe was as great as Kobe was, he wasn't Jordan, you know. And like with all due respect to Kobe Bryant, like Kobe is still an all-time great, but like I wish we could have experienced more of Jordan's like being able to understand more of like what.
And I think we understand that now. And before I thought LeBron was the best, but I mean, I don't know. It'd be really interesting in both primes to see head to head, one on one, what would evolve. I mean, they're both freak athletes. I mean, this is 1 in a billion people. It's beyond impressive to watch. It gets the media views like no other. But it would be very interesting and see his mindset too. I mean, Jordan, he wins no matter what he does. I mean, I know hobbies now. He's a sports fisherman. He wasn't very good in the beginning. Now he's killing it. Everyone hears what he catches in the ocean, and everyone wants to go be him the next day.
Yeah.
And just to have that reputation or offer to a hobby, and he had no idea what to do, and now he's obsessed. It's kind of like when he bought just a competitive mindset when he bought Pippen the golf clubs, and Pippen's like, wait a minute, I think it's because he wants to beat me in golf. Like, here's a free set, just the weed in the bait, you know. So it's just the strategic mindset behind all of that. And or when he went, and they show the previews of when he went up, I think it was against the Jazz, maybe with the right hand, and midair switched to left hand because the guy was in the freaking way. Like, who else is going to think that so quickly within a split millisecond, literally, to make the accomplishment?
Just a great. It's also like crazy to see the stuff that they went into with him and Isaiah, like him and the Pistons, like how much they hated each other. And it makes sense to like, I used to wonder like why when it came to like the Olympic teams, like you hear about him and Isaiah just like, oh, Jordan kept Isaiah like, you know, off the team and stuff like that. And I was just to be like, why does he hate Isaiah Thomas so much? And then like this documentary really did go into that for those of us who weren't old
It's
enough.
funny. That's who he basically was like, tell that guy I'll show him what's up the next day. And just train threes left and right to all get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like they're both greats, but like it was kind of funny when they were going to show Jordan the clip of what Isaiah had to say about when they got swept.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't even want to see it. Like even before that, I was just like, I was making notes of this and I was just like, the no shaking definitely solidified Jordan's hate. And then they showed that. And then I was just like, yep, there it is. Like Jordan just had zero respect for the Pistons or Isaiah.
I mean, he definitely created and brewed tension in the room and create a competition and competitive edge for each other and see what's going to come out of it. And he always fed out the way to win.
Yeah. Even when written off, like
competition is tough to think about as off of.
What was the last part of that?
I said competition is tough for everyone, and you want to figure out tactics, how to win. And I think this is a great learning tool for anyone. And everyone has a time now to sit back and think about where they're going to go with their future. Well, these are great tools and tips that could learn off of and take them for granted and figure out how you're going to go forward with your everyday life.
Absolutely. That mindset can be used in anything, you know, like it doesn't have to only be sports. And I think sometimes people hear some of these stories about different athletes and they think like, oh, well, I'm not, you know, a basketball player, like that can't apply to me. But it's really just about like focus. And like they talk about like Michael's mental focus was really what separated him from everybody else. And like you can apply mental focus in anything, you know, like if you are like, you know, you could be a house salesman and like your focus of getting deals done, things like that. Like that translates. Like if you sell clothes like that, you know, in designing clothes and things like that, like your focus in terms of getting new designs, all that stuff, like mental focus like that can be translated into any field.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think is going to happen in the next 2 episodes?
I just hear on Jordan practice this, but whatever you do is that you got to live it, you got to feel it, you got to breathe it.
Definitely, absolutely, 100% agree with that. What do you think? What do I think is going to happen in the next few episodes?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just hope they go into more of like. I want to know more about why Jerry Krause kept doing these interviews, being like, "Phil's not coming back." Like, okay, we get it. Just like I don't know. I really would love to like know more about why he kept giving these interviews. Like, I think it was pretty clear. He had made his stance very clear from the beginning that like they were breaking the team up. He would rather break the team up like a year early versus a year late, which like other organizations like the Patriots have made, you know, very popular as well. But I just think that like Krause's way of going about it sometimes wasn't the best. So I hope they go into that a little bit more. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think he wanted to like I think they kind of touched on in the first 2 episodes that he wanted to be like around the players. Like he wanted to be basically a player.
Yeah.
But like and I think they locked him out of like the locker room one time.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of confused about the whole thing too. Just like why like how are you that mad at somebody that you just won like 5 championships with before that season? So I don't really fully understand the whole story. Obviously, there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more that we're never going to know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and egos play a huge part in it. Like, first of all, you have massive egos when you're that successful. And also, like, just people bring their natural ego into a workforce. And that's probably one of the hardest things of, like, probably being a general manager is managing egos around you and probably managing your own ego.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think one interesting thing that everyone kind of probably wants to see is more his upbringing. They touched on it a little bit, but I think that could maybe there's some home experiences that drove him to what he did, or helped him, or figured out that way to drive it that way. I think that would create more engagement and find him more interest. He may not want to reveal as much things, but it would be cool to see some kind of example or experience he had when he was a kid that kind of showed the love for the game and created of the will to win.
Definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how they end this. I mean, obviously, we know what happens at the end of the 98 season, but just hearing more of these stories that, like, you just don't get unless you're around the players, I'm excited. I wish they just dropped the ball all the episodes at once, but, you know, I get it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw
I think
what were you going to say, Jason?
I think 2 concepts. One thing is this is the definition of everything looks great on the outside, but what is really happening on the inside?
Definitely.
And they get personal, and now people start figuring stuff out. It makes more sense. And what they've covered up in the media all along the lines, and what actually is really happening. I think it's going to be something that people are always going to think about. Obviously, I mean, my ultimate guess is I hope they have a twist on the end of it to really keep you like, wow, that was awesome. But obviously, they're going to be shown in the final episode, this final shot against the Jazz. And also that comes down to Jordan always wanted the ball with the final shot. He knew how to act around pressure. That's what made him so much greater than most people.
Wasn't afraid to fail either. And that's huge in those moments.
He was beyond confident. And if he failed, he would want to go back harder. And I mean, I think that's a huge life lesson.
Yeah. The other thing that I respect about him even more now, just like his sportsmanship after the losses, because like I never watched like old interviews like that, like right during the game, and they ran up to him and they're not even talking to. I think it was the Pistons that just beat them. They went up to Jordan. They're gonna go up to the winning team.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, like they had our numbers today, and that's it. He's like, we're gonna go back, and then they started working out.
Yeah, and they worked out. They went even harder. You know, he was just drilling everybody, making sure everyone got better. I think that too, like his ability to like elevate the performance of everybody around him is
he made people around him better.
Yeah,
he made them better players. I mean, look at Pippen's end career. Look at him. I mean, obviously working with Jordan. I remember as a kid when I was coming up playing sports I love to play. You go around older people who are better, you look up to them, you're going to rise to their level. You go with people that aren't as good as you play down to their level sometimes. And that used to frustrate me like no other. It's like, I am better at this. Like, so that it's a crazy psychological mind that they're bigger, faster, stronger, more experienced, yet you feel like you're just as good as them and you could play at that level. Yet a coach doesn't think you could. So the conflict there is actually very interesting. That occurs in sports, I think, a lot. And obviously teamwork too. And I think he really created great teamwork and made team players better because of it.
Yeah. People might not always have agreed with his methods of doing it, but if you get the results, then ultimately, like, what more can you say?
It's funny you say that because I remember him saying, if you don't want to follow me by example, then I should be the person that you're standing up to. But if you are, let's go on for the ride.
Yeah. It takes a strong type of person first of all, it takes a strong type of person to win a championship. And it takes a strong type of person to like play alongside a great. Like you see so many players who have like, for example, nowadays, like you see players who play with LeBron and they can't deal with the pressure that comes with having to perform every night. Like it's not really for everybody, and you realize why the people at the top are really just are where they are, because it's like you have to have a level of toughness that is very rare.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
and you got to deal with the ups and downs as well.
Yeah.
So, Paul,
got to be able to take the criticism as well as you take the praise.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you both, and so I'm excited to see what happens in the next episode. And like Aaron said before, like how it ends. Like hopefully they leave us with something good.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they've definitely got something up their sleeves for us.
I mean, they've been planning this for 10 years. I think that they know they launched at a perfect time. Time is a lot when it creates business and just happiness, mindset, engagement. So I'm very interested to see where this is going to go. As Paul and I've talked earlier, and I remember him texting me saying after the first two episodes, this has just got me amped up. It was 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. It was time to shut things down and start the week the next morning, but it couldn't. And that's what I think the thrill that they've created in this, which is phenomenal. And congrats to ESPN for it.
Absolutely. Brilliantly timed. I think it broke the record for most views in a premiere of a debut or a debut of a documentary. 6.1 million, I want to say.
Yeah,
viewers last week.
And I think it was like the first hour was 3 to 4 million, which is like talk about the likes on an Instagram.
Can't beat that.
Viral is the definition.
Absolutely.
True.
Anything else you want to get off before we get out of here?
I think we touched. I mean, we don't have to say the word great again, but
Hold on, what was that?
I said we've touched on everything. I don't think we need to say the word great again. Overall, it's enough said.
Yeah, definitely. I don't really have anything else to say about this. I mean, I just enjoyed it. I'll definitely be watching it again during the week because I watched episodes 1 and 2 over again and just to like see what else I missed in it. So I'll definitely be watching 3 and 4 over again and just trying to learn from the GOAT.